I found the ring in my coat pocket 3 days after the party. Not in the trash. Not hidden away. Just sitting there in my winter jacket like some casual afterthought, wrapped in a cocktail napkin with lipstick stains that definitely weren't Laura's shade. My name is Oscar, I'm 41 years old, and I run construction projects across Cleveland. Laura is 36, works as an architectural assistant, and we've been married for 8 years. We have 2 kids, Danny who's 7 and Emma who's 5. Or at least, I thought we had a family. Turns out I'd been living with a stranger who wore my wife's face. But if I'm being honest, the signs had been there for months. Maybe longer. I just hadn't wanted to see them. It started small. Laura began working later, always with a convenient excuse about deadlines or demanding clients. Her phone became an extension of her hand, face down on every surface, password protected with a code she'd changed without telling me. When I asked about it casually one evening, she'd laughed it off. Just wanted something more secure, she'd said. You know how it is with work emails. Except I didn't know. Because in 8 years of marriage, we'd never hidden our phones from each other. Then there were the new clothes. Designer labels I'd never seen her wear, lingerie that stayed hidden in the back of her drawer, perfume that cost more than our monthly utilities. When I'd commented on a new dress, she'd said it was a gift from a colleague. When I'd asked about the perfume, she'd claimed it was on sale. Every question had an answer, every answer just plausible enough to quiet my suspicions. But suspicions don't die. They just wait. The most telling change was her attention to appearance. Laura had always been naturally beautiful, the kind of woman who looked stunning without trying. But suddenly she was trying. Hard. Hours spent in the bathroom, new makeup tutorials playing on her laptop, hair appointments every 2 weeks instead of every 2 months. She joined a gym, started watching what she ate with an intensity that bordered on obsession. I just want to feel good about myself, she'd explained when I'd mentioned the changes. But people who feel good about themselves don't avoid mirrors when their spouse is watching. They don't schedule grooming appointments like military operations. They don't act like they're preparing for something. Or someone. The night of the rooftop party was when everything crystallized into certainty. Emma had woken up that morning with a fever. Nothing serious, just a winter cold that had been circulating through her kindergarten class. But she was miserable, clingy, asking for mommy between coughing fits. I'd stayed home from the construction site, made her soup, played her favorite cartoons, held her when she cried. Laura had a different priority. I have to go to this party, she'd said when I suggested she skip it and stay home with our sick daughter. Sam is hosting it. He's one of the senior architects at the firm. Not showing up would be career suicide. Sam. She'd mentioned that name before, always in a professional context. Her boss's colleague. The firm's rising star. The architect everyone wanted to work with. Emma needs you, I'd said, trying to keep my voice level. She's asking for you. She's 5, Oscar. She has a cold, not cancer. You can handle it for one night. The dismissiveness in her tone had stung more than the words themselves. This was our daughter, feverish and scared, and Laura was treating her illness like an inconvenience that conflicted with her social calendar. I'm asking you to stay, I'd said quietly. Please. She'd looked at me then, really looked at me, and I'd seen something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Calculation. She was weighing the cost of staying against the cost of missing this party, and I could see which side was winning. I'll be back early, she'd said, already turning toward the bedroom to get ready. Early. That was a lie, and we both knew it. I'd watched her prepare for that party with the same intensity someone might prepare for a wedding. She'd started getting ready 3 hours before she needed to leave. The shower lasted 40 minutes. Her makeup took another 45. She'd changed outfits 4 times, each one more revealing than the last, before settling on a black dress I'd never seen before. It hugged every curve, ended mid-thigh, and had a neckline that made its purpose clear. Is that new? I'd asked. Had it for a while, she'd answered without looking at me. Another lie. The perfume came last. Not the one she usually wore, not the one I'd bought her for Christmas. Something different. Something expensive. Something that smelled like seduction. You look nice, I'd said, because what else could I say? You look like you're going to meet a lover? You look like you don't belong to this family anymore. Thanks, she'd replied, checking her reflection one final time. Don't wait up. Emma had cried when Laura left, reaching for her mother with small, feverish hands. Laura had blown her a kiss from the doorway, careful not to smudge her makeup with actual physical contact. Then she was gone, leaving behind only that expensive perfume hanging in the air like evidence. I'd held Emma until she fell asleep, her hot forehead pressed against my chest, her small body shaking with occasional coughs. I'd put both kids to bed, cleaned the kitchen, and settled on the couch to wait. I'd tried watching television, but my mind kept wandering. Kept imagining where she was, what she was doing, who she was with. I'd told myself I was being paranoid, that the late nights and new clothes and password-protected phone were all innocent, that I was reading malice into coincidence. But coincidence doesn't spend 3 hours getting ready for a work party. Coincidence doesn't choose career over a sick child. Coincidence doesn't come home at 2 a.m. smelling like someone else's cologne. Because that's what I'd noticed first when she walked through the door. Not the missing ring, not initially. First, I'd noticed the smell. Her expensive perfume was still there, but underneath it was something else. Men's cologne. Something woody and sharp, definitely not mine. She'd looked different too. Her carefully applied makeup was smudged around the edges. Her hair, which had been perfectly styled when she left, was slightly disheveled. And there was something about her expression, something bright and elevated, like she was riding a high that had nothing to do with the 2 glasses of champagne she'd claimed she'd had. She looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. Maybe years. But she didn't look happy to see me. She looked surprised I was still awake. Inconvenienced by my presence. "How's Emma?" she'd asked, toeing off her heels. "Still feverish. She asked for you before she fell asleep." A flash of something crossed her face. Guilt, maybe. Or annoyance that I'd mentioned it. "I'm sure she's fine," Laura had said, heading toward the bedroom. That's when I'd seen it. The bare finger on her left hand. The missing wedding ring. "Where's your ring?" I asked from the couch where I'd been waiting. She glanced at her hand, like she'd only just noticed. "Oh, must have taken it off to wash my hands at the party. I'll find it tomorrow." The lie came so easily. So smoothly. That's when I knew this wasn't the first time. Her response was too practiced, too immediate. No panic, no real concern about losing something that supposedly meant everything. Just a casual explanation and a promise to find it later. Like the ring was a piece of costume jewelry, not a symbol of 8 years of marriage. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I watched her walk to the bedroom, still radiating that strange joy, that elevated mood that had nothing to do with our life together and everything to do with wherever she'd been. With whomever she'd been with. And I knew. In that moment, with absolute certainty, I knew. My wife was having an affair. The ring in my coat pocket 3 days later only confirmed what my gut had been screaming since she'd walked through the door smelling like another man, glowing with happiness that had been earned somewhere else by someone else. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I waited until she fell asleep, then carefully took her phone. The newer messaging apps auto-delete conversations, but people get careless with location data. I opened Telegram, sent her location to my number, then deleted the sent message from her chat history. Took less than 30 seconds. The next day, I told her I had a site inspection that would run late. Instead, I followed the coordinates from her phone. They led to a high-rise in downtown Cleveland, one of those new luxury developments with floor-to-ceiling windows and a doorman, who probably made more than most of my crew. I waited across the street in my truck, engine off despite the winter cold seeping through the windows. 45 minutes later, Laura emerged. She wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, expensive-looking in that effortless way that comes from generational wealth. They stood close, too close, his hand on the small of her back as they talked. Then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck. A kiss that spoke of familiarity, of routine, of ownership. I took photos. Lots of photos. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I tracked her patterns, documented her lies. The late nights at the office that ended at luxury hotels. The client meetings that turned into intimate dinners at restaurants where a single bottle of wine cost more than our monthly grocery budget. But Sam wasn't her only secret. There was Patrick, a developer she'd meet during supposed lunch breaks at a boutique hotel near her office. And Howard, who I discovered when I followed her to what she'd claimed was a weekend architectural conference in Columbus. There was no conference, just Howard's lakeside rental property, and 2 days I spent photographing her coming and going. 3 men, 3 separate relationships, all running simultaneously while she came home to kiss our children goodnight and slide into bed beside me. The financial irregularities I discovered almost by accident. I'd been reviewing our joint account statements, looking for patterns in her spending, when I noticed regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Small amounts at first, 200 here, 300 there. But over the past year, she'd siphoned nearly $40,000. I contacted a lawyer friend, Brittany, who specialized in family law. She looked over everything I'd gathered and whistled low. "This is meticulous," she said. "But you need to protect your assets before you make any moves. If she's already hiding money, she'll clean out whatever she can access the moment she knows you're filing." That's when I made the most important decision. I opened an offshore account in the Cayman Islands through a business contact who'd helped me with international contractor payments in the past. Over the next 3 weeks, I carefully moved our savings, liquidated some investments, and transferred everything I could legally claim as mine. Not stealing. Everything I moved was money I'd earned or could prove came from my income. But I made damn sure Laura couldn't touch it. I also documented everything about our apartment. We'd bought it together during better times, but I'd made the down payment from an inheritance from my grandfather. My lawyer confirmed that with proper documentation, I had a strong case for keeping it in the divorce. The confrontation came on a Wednesday evening. I'd sent the kids to my sister Cindy's house for a sleepover, telling Laura I thought we needed an evening alone together. She'd seemed pleased, probably thinking I hadn't noticed how far we'd drifted. I laid everything out on our dining room table. Printed photos, bank statements, location data, hotel receipts I'd obtained through a private investigator Brittany had recommended. A paper trail of betrayal, so extensive it covered nearly every inch of the table. "Oscar," she started when she saw it all. "Don't," I cut her off. "I know about Sam. I know about Patrick and Howard. I know about the money you've been stealing. And I know that ring I found in your pocket 3 days after the party. You didn't lose it. You took it off because you wanted to feel single." The color drained from her face. Then came the tears, the apologies, the explanations that explained nothing. She loved me, she claimed. She'd made mistakes. She wanted to work on our marriage. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. "Actually love me?" The pause before her answer told me everything. "I thought I did. When we got married, I thought." "You thought I'd be a safe backup plan," I finished. "You'd been married before. That didn't work out. I was stable, reliable, good father material. But you never stopped looking for something more exciting." She didn't deny it. "I filed for divorce this morning," I continued. "You're being served tomorrow. And before you think about cleaning out our accounts, you should know I've already secured every asset I can prove belongs to me. The apartment, the savings, the investments, all documented and protected. You can't just take everything. I can take what's mine. And given your infidelity and the financial fraud you've committed, my lawyer is very confident about my position. You're welcome to fight it, but every text message, every hotel receipt, every transfer you made to that hidden account, it's all documented. The court will see exactly who you are." The divorce took 6 months. Laura tried to fight for the apartment, for half of everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. She'd been married before, to a man she'd also cheated on, and I'd managed to track down her ex-husband through mutual contacts. His testimony about her patterns of behavior didn't help her case. In the end, I kept the apartment, primary custody of the kids, and most of our assets. She got a small settlement and weekend visitation. But here's where the real revenge came in. The part I'd been planning since I first discovered the depth of her betrayal. Sam was an architect, successful and prominent in Cleveland's development scene. Patrick was a developer. Howard worked in commercial real estate. All three moved in interconnected professional circles. I'd made copies of everything. Every photo, every text message I'd managed to recover, every piece of evidence of Laura's affairs. And I knew something she didn't. Sam was engaged. Patrick was married with 3 kids. Howard had just started a relationship with a city council member who was very vocal about family values. 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized, anonymous packages arrived at very specific addresses. Sam's fiancée received documentation of his year-long affair. Patrick's wife got a detailed timeline of his meetings with Laura. Howard's girlfriend received hotel receipts and photographs that left no room for interpretation. I didn't just want Laura to lose me. I wanted her to lose the possibility of running to any of them. Sam's engagement ended within 48 hours. The architectural firm where he and Laura both worked suddenly became very uncomfortable for both of them when his ex-fiancée, who happened to be the daughter of one of the firm's founding partners, made it clear she couldn't be in the same building as him. Sam resigned, found work in another city. Laura heard through mutual contacts that he blamed her for ruining his life. Patrick's marriage exploded spectacularly. His wife hired a divorce lawyer so aggressive that Patrick ended up losing his development company in the settlement. He left Cleveland entirely, moved back to his hometown in Pennsylvania to start over. He made it clear through intermediaries that he never wanted to hear Laura's name again. Howard's political ambitions died when his girlfriend leaked the affair details to local media as an example of the moral corruption she claimed to be fighting against. His relationship with the council member ended, his business reputation suffered, and he became toxic in Cleveland's real estate circles. All three men, all three backup plans, all three possibilities of a soft landing after our divorce gone. Laura tried to contact me about a month after the dust settled. She'd figured out what I'd done, though she couldn't prove it. She left a voicemail calling me vindictive, cruel, saying I'd destroyed not just her life but the lives of innocent people. I saved the voicemail. Played it once. Deleted it. Innocent people. That's rich coming from someone who'd betrayed everyone who ever trusted her. She'd expected me to be the safe, reliable Oscar who'd quietly accept being cuckolded, who'd maybe fight for the kids but ultimately let her keep living her double life. She'd underestimated how thoroughly a construction manager documents and plans. We build things meant to last, and we protect our investments. I heard through Cindy, who somehow stays connected to all the gossip networks, that Laura eventually did end up with Sam. Apparently after all three men's lives imploded, and after enough time had passed, she and Sam reconnected. Both of them had lost everything else, so they clung to each other. A relationship born from infidelity, sustained by shared destruction, built on a foundation of lies. I give it 2 years before they betray each other. People don't change. They just find new victims. Danny and Emma adjusted better than I expected. Kids are resilient, and I made sure to never speak badly about their mother in front of them. They didn't need to know the details. They just needed stability, honesty, and a parent who was actually present in their lives rather than constantly sneaking away to the next affair. I still live in our apartment. Still run construction projects across Cleveland. Still wake up early, make breakfast for my kids, help with homework, attend school events. The difference is I sleep soundly now. No more wondering where she really is, no more nagging feeling that something's wrong, no more existing in a marriage that was really just an elaborate stage production where I was the only one who didn't know we were acting. Sometimes I think about that ring in my coat pocket, that careless mistake that unraveled everything. If she'd been more careful, if she'd hidden it better, how much longer would I have lived in ignorance? But then I remember the offshore account, the secured assets, the documented evidence, the systematic dismantling of every safety net she'd built for herself. And I realize it doesn't matter when I found out. What matters is what I did with the information. Laura wanted freedom, wanted excitement, wanted to have her stable family life, and her affairs too. She got freedom, all right. Freedom from her marriage, her backup plans, her financial security, and her reputation. I call that a fair trade. The construction business is good. I took on a major project recently, a mixed-use development downtown. Ironically, it's the same building where Laura used to meet Sam. The developer wanted to renovate rather than rebuild, and they hired my firm for the work. Every day I walk through those halls, past that doorman, and I think about how everything changes. That building used to represent my humiliation. Now it represents my paycheck. I haven't dated since the divorce. Haven't wanted to. Maybe eventually, but there's no rush. I'm rediscovering who I am without the weight of someone else's lies crushing down on me. Learning to trust my instincts again, to recognize red flags I'd ignored before. Brittany, my lawyer friend, sometimes jokes that I should write a handbook on divorce preparation. Most people come to me after everything's already been drained, she says. You came with a strategy. But it wasn't strategy, not really. It was survival. When you realize the person sleeping beside you has been systematically destroying your life while smiling at you over breakfast, you either crumble or you build defenses. I chose to build. That's what I do, after all. I build things. And sometimes building something new means demolishing what was there before, making sure every piece of rot is removed, every weakness exposed. You don't construct a solid foundation on compromised ground. Laura's ground was compromised from the start. I just didn't see it until that bare finger, that missing ring, that casual lie told so smoothly it could only come from extensive practice. 3 days. That's how long it took from seeing her bare hand to finding that ring in my pocket. 3 days that changed everything. Or maybe it didn't change anything. Maybe it just revealed what had always been true. Either way, the building stands. My kids are healthy. My finances are secure. And every night I lock the door of an apartment that's truly mine, in a life that's truly mine, free from shadows and secrets and the exhausting performance of pretending not to notice I'm being betrayed. Some people might say I went too far, that destroying her relationships with Sam, Patrick, and Howard was excessive, that a simple divorce would have been enough. Those people have never had 8 years of their life revealed as fiction, have never realized that while they were building a family, their partner was building escape routes, have never felt the particular violence of discovering that every "I love you" was conditional, every moment of intimacy was calculated, every shared dream was really just a solo fantasy they were performing for an audience of one. I didn't go too far. I went exactly as far as necessary to ensure she couldn't do to someone else what she'd done to me. At least not easily, not comfortably, not without consequences. Laura is somewhere in this city with Sam, living in a smaller apartment, dealing with the consequences of choices she made long before I discovered them. I hope they're miserable. I hope they wake up every day wondering when the other one will cheat, because that's what people like them do. They can't help it. Betrayal is in their nature. But that's not my problem anymore. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.